I am so excited for so many of you right now because I know for many of you, this is your first year homeschooling, but I also know there's a lot of you that are into your second year homeschooling, third year homeschooling. Some of you are seasoned homeschooling, maybe first time high schooling. I don't know if that's a word, I just made it up. High school, homeschooling, anyway. But I also know some of you have made the choice to send your kids to public or private school, or, there's so many situations. I met with so many of you over this summer. It's been unbelievable. And I have learned so much. But I'm actually going to take time to talk about 4 things that I've discovered this summer that parents are feeling extremely guilty and shameful about when we shouldn't be. And so in this video, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shed some light on this, okay? Put it into perspective to maybe help you see it at a different angle. I also want to let you know that you are not alone. I discovered it this summer when I spoke to many of you that I am not alone because you shared with me things that I feel as well. And I felt it with you. And then I'm also going to hopefully shed some truth, put some truth in the truth bucket when you come against these thoughts, because our brain likes to lie to us a lot, we're sinful. So the first one that I'm going to touch on is pretty heavy, and I don't know why I wanted to start with a heavy one, but I totally did. By the way, these are not going to be like your typical chat GPT things. This is like real life. We're going to get deep, okay? Separating yourself as a parent from your kids' successes and their failures. I think many of us as parents start to put our identity in our children. So in other words, you think about it, when they're babies, they live inside of you. You raised them. They lived in your home. They grew up. You fed them. You changed, like all the things. I'll tell you the truth right now, usually it's middle school because middle school is crazy. That was my favorite grade to teach and still is. But it seems to be in middle school where they make some really bad choices. It's called impulse control, lack of impulse control, and they do it quite frequently. And this is the time when they actually get to learn the real world. The point is that our children are not us. They're totally different people. I know it's really easy to be like, hey, my child went to college and on a full scholarship. I'm so proud. And it makes you look good. But if your child didn't go to college and they dropped out and they work at the dollar store, I love the dollar store, nothing against the dollar store, I could see how maybe some parents may carry some shame. Let go of that. Your child is their own child. One thing that does happen, I want to say around age 12, no, usually it's like 13, but it depends on the child because every child is different, right? Rebellion. Rebellion's really bad. It's just a bad thing. But a lot of it happens because we continue to try and control or micromanage their life a little bit too much. And we don't shift from being that parent that does control every aspect of their life to being more of a relaxed parent that lays the boundaries down, disciplines them, but also counsels with them and lets them make some bad choices. That rebellion that they have should actually be more independence. Rebellion is kind of a sign of wanting to be independent from you. But the reason I bring that up is because a lot of us still struggle to let go of our middle schoolers and teens because we still find our identity in them. Lay those boundaries, discipline them when they do something wrong, listen, the big one is listening to them, and counsel. You turn into a counseling type parent. Of course, if it's really bad, you have to lay down the law. Hardship brings forth beauty. And we have to remember that if we don't go through those trials, if our children don't go through those trials and question things and explore, because every child is their own individual person and they all have a unique journey that they're going to have to go on to discover who they are. You can be there to counsel them, but you should never be there to control them. We have to separate ourselves as parents from them. Of course, there's another thing I want to talk about too. I know a lot of religions, not just Christianity, do feel this pressure to be perfect. And there's a lot of pressure coming from the outside. Now, I can't speak for every religion, but I do know within the Christian realm, there's this idea that we have to look a certain way, this idea we have to look like, gee, he's perfect, we're not, okay, why? But we're still all really highly flawed. And there's so much pressure to do things perfectly. I know that one of the things that is talked about with Christian circles and Christian parents, when that gossip starts to fly, they look at you and they look at your children and they go, their children are doing this, this, and this, and this wrong. They judge them, and then they start to judge the parent. That is wrong. People do not know what is going on in your life or what has happened. People do not know if there is some kind of mental distress or the struggles that they make. And people will share their opinions with you. They do not know you or your situation. You say, thank you very much, and you walk away and let that go because they don't know. And your identity is not found in your child. I have met, just in my lifetime, Christian, very strong, Bible-believing. I've met Muslim, I have met Jewish, I have met Asian parents that their children go off and rebel, one of which had to go to jail. And the shame that the parent felt, like it was all their fault. Another one had to go into a mental institution. That shame that they feel, like that, you need to let that go because that does not define who you are. I'm going to leave it at that. I know that's one topic I could go on about. And I know this could be like a full-blown discussion. You're probably going to leave it down in the comments below. Go for it. Just be nice. But I'm going to move on to the second one because that was like I said, it's a pretty heavy topic, okay? So second one is going to be much lighter. We feel guilty when we take time to rest. Taking myself out to get a pedicure or something like that, I feel guilty. Pedicures are like treats. It's not anything I need, right? It's just a treat. Something like that, okay? Feeling guilty that you took money from the family and that you took time away from your kids to do something for you. No, because, okay, on an airplane, right? What do they tell you to do when they get, and this is such an analogy that like everybody uses, and I'm so sorry for doing this to you right now, but the gas mask come down, you put it on first before you can help somebody else. I know a pedicure is not going to save your life at all, but vitamins, right? Sometimes we don't eat healthy enough. Sometimes we don't rest. That's a life-saving thing. I struggle with that. Like, I don't like to sleep, apparently, for some reason. And then I feel guilty if I take a nap in the middle of the day and my kids have free time, which, when they get older, they should have some free time. It's good for them. Free time and being bored is totally good for our kids. And also that independence, too, okay? When you get older, like in your 40s and your kids are like teenagers, you need to rest a lot. And you need to have brain capacity because the drama that you were going to deal with, I'm just going to leave that there because you got to have some wisdom. I actually just recently did a talk at a convention. It was more like a panel. And one of the things we were discussing is how to take care of ourselves and make a list of things to do with your kids, but also a list of things to do for yourself that you enjoy. I would also add a list of things to do with your husband or wife. This was a big one that I heard this summer a lot, okay? And I know most of you at this point that are watching this video, I'm assuming are homeschooling your kids this year because you're still listening. But if not, this may pertain to you, the guilt and shame of putting your kids back into public or private school. It's huge, and I hear that one a lot. I'm not judging you because I get it. My mom, I wasn't homeschooled. I used to beg my mom to homeschool, okay? But there was a point where my mom was very active at our school. She was always there. She was in the library assisting and volunteering. And she was actually talking about going back to school to get her, teaching degree and all these things. But she got very, very sick. Very, very sick, very, very quickly. And it lasted for a very, very long period of time. And she could, even if I wanted to homeschool, she couldn't do it. There was so much medication and so much involved that she could not physically do it. And I think that happens to a lot of us as parents. Things happen unexpectedly where we get ill and we physically can't do it. We got to take care of ourselves, but we feel so guilty. We feel like, oh my gosh, I failed. My body failed. Guys, God's got this. There is a season and there may be a reason why your child needs to go to public school or private school at this time. I've also heard that kids make their parents feel guilty in some of these cases. Like, Mom, you don't love me anymore. It's like your kids are gaslighting you, okay? Call it out. It's not the case. It's okay. We're human. We sometimes have to do this. I've heard stories of parents having to take care of their parents. Oh no, you're putting your parent above your child. Cut it out. It is so difficult to make some of these choices, whether it's to homeschool or whether it's to put your kid back into the classroom. There is so much pride sometimes that comes with homeschooling that is not necessary. Honestly, for those of us that keep homeschooling, it can be taken away from us like that. Seriously, our health could change or something drastic can happen. We're at the mercy of God. We shouldn't have pride. And we shouldn't shame, because there's another thing. I've heard so much shaming. Oh my gosh, why aren't you homeschooling? No, because that would be a person of not good advice. Everybody likes to share their opinion. I don't know what's up with that. I get it, I guess. People like to share that. I like to share my opinion too. So I guess I do get that. But sometimes it's just good to not listen to other people's opinions when they're not very sensitive to your situation. Let's say that it isn't one of that, a health reason or drastic. Maybe it's just you feel like you're butting heads with your kid and you don't really understand a lot of the academic rigorousness that goes in. Homeschooling's hard. I'm not going to lie. We all make it sound like, oh, fun and games, whatever. I get that. Okay, I was a teacher, so teaching is my passion and I love it. I'm really nerdy about it. So if I ever make it sound like it's fun and love and hugs, and okay, I try not to, but I know sometimes I do because I'm kind of nerdy about it. Okay, but not everybody's built that way. And you also got people lying about what's really going on behind closed doors. That's another thing. Okay, you may be totally built different and you may need somebody else to teach your child because it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's so hard. And you may be gifted at something totally different. And in that situation where you have sent your child to public school or a private school or whatever you choose to do, and you're thriving with your business, when they come home, you guys can meet up together and build a stronger relationship with the amount of time that you guys do have. And sometimes those relationships are a lot stronger. So whatever choice you make, it's your decision. And there is no shame. And here is the last one. And this is another heavy one. Look at me. I did the first one heavy. Last one heavy. Our society has so much going on. So I'm getting my mental health coaching certifications and stuff like that. And I've been reading up about the youth, this generation, the teens right now, the middle schoolers right now, how stressed out they are. I don't remember the exact statistic, but it has to do with the fact that the stress level that they're at is identical to people that were in prison in the early 1900s. Like, the stress level is huge. Part of the reason is because all this information is being thrown at them through social media, through the internet, the YouTube, everything. There's just so much information and it's so easy to grab. They don't know how to slow down and enjoy what's around them. They're just getting information overload. And it is stressful because you're like, I don't know enough. I don't have enough time with my friends. These kids fall asleep with the phones right next to them in bed, knowing that their friends could call them at any time and ask for help, because these kids are actually trying to counsel each other and they have access to each other anytime, 24/7 with their phones. It's not like, back in the old day when people went to sleep and you respected the fact that people fell asleep. Not anymore. Our kids are so stressed out, but so are we. And there is so much information coming at us, and it is so difficult to think, am I doing enough? Am I ruining my kid? Am I missing some kind of benchmark? There's just so much information out there. You can't shift through all of it at all. And then you get on YouTube and you watch these videos, you're like, oh my gosh. And I know, I'm sorry if I've done that to you, okay? You watch the video and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I did that. Oh, I missed out on that. And you start beating yourself up. Look, it is what it is. My son's been saying that lately. That's so funny. I just said that. It is what it is. What you have in front of you, look, God put it there. You don't need to constantly be seeking out. Be happy with what you have. And happy, look, and the reality is too, like a lot, I'm just going to tell you the truth. A lot of these curriculum out there are very similar. You know, I should just do a video on like all these marketing techniques that I'm seeing happening, the truth of what's going on with the homeschool community and the curriculum out there, because, you know, everybody's saying theirs is best and they're cutting down other ones. And I'm just kind of over the fact that this is not what homeschool was originally. It wasn't a cutthroat, like I've got the best curriculum fight out there and oh my gosh, I missed out on that curriculum. Oh my gosh, I missed out on that opportunity. You know, it's not just curriculum too. Like I said, opportunity. I missed out. I didn't go RVing with my kids when they were toddlers. How much would I love to go RVing across the nation with my kids? So jealous. Oh my gosh, families that do sailboating. Oh, homeschool sailboating. You guys, you don't even know how jealous I get of that, okay? Oh, yeah, I'm not going to have fear of missing out right now. But you know what? We all have something like that. It's definitely an epidemic that has increased post-pandemic. And we can't get wrapped up in that. And we can't feel shame. We have what we have right now in the moment. There's a reason for it. We just have to go with it and not do the whole grass is greener on the other side thing. So those are my 4. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you have one to add. And you know what, if anything, like just encourage people in the comment section down below, because you know, it is a journey for all of us. All of our journeys look completely different and it's okay. I am going to leave some videos right here for you guys to check out. And that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful beginning of your school year and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.